Okay, so as a continuation of what we were talking earlier in the last few sessions we had, that our real avodah is really to separate, this noise is crazy, is really to separate the bad from the vessels. Remember, we're talking about the sparks and the vessels. And later on, those vessels, after we made the proper selection, they became a part of what we call of the sferot of Olam HaAtzilut, which is the highest level that is out there. You know what? Just lower it a bit. And the kelim that were less selected, that's basically what Alon was asking yesterday. The kelim in which the selection was not done so well, so appropriate, they became the sferot or the vessels for Olam HaBriya, which is lower. We have Atzilut, Briya, Yetzira, Asiya. Right? We have Atzilut, which it's being directly, shadow casted from Ein Sof, from HaKadosh Baruch Hu to that world. From that it filters down to the world of creation, Briya, where things are being created. That's why in our world you cannot create anything out of or something out of nothing. It always has to come from somewhere. Then below that there's Olam HaYetzira, formation, where things are being formed. And in our world, whatever exists in this world, the whole entire universe, is basically Olam HaAsiyah, the place of action. So it depends on the level of your Beru. And that level of that Beru would mainly be initiated by the intent, by the quality of your thoughts, or the purity of your thoughts and your actions while you were doing that. The better selection, the higher you're elevating those kelim. And now the kelim which were not selected at all stayed within the klipot, and when it stays there, and when all those vessels that are still mixed in with the tzad of tumah that are not being selected, only then it's going to be kedusha on one side and tumah on the other side. Until that point, everything is mixed together, and you got to be very, very careful. You got to be very, very careful when it comes to do it like that. Sam, did you bring the book? All right, give it to here. Come here. Here, give me change, and then you can go on your way. Sam, give it to him. You can be on your way. So. And that's what we said. And all the smoke, because we were talking about the different klipot that are ashan and ruach and fire and so on and so forth. Then it's all going to be finished. That's basically Yemot HaMashiach. Until Yemot HaMashiach, we have to be constantly involved and selecting and separating good from bad, good from bad, good from bad, and we have to have the clarity to do so, and the clarity can only come when we determine things according to the eyes of the Torah, not according to the eyes or morals of society that keep on changing. The morals of the Torah are emet and are eternal, and that's how it needs to be judged. So you could tell me, and which is true. I mean, you could tell me what was good and moral and holy society in, let's say, in the 50s. Today is considered to be obsolete, vulgar, and whatever, phobic. Those things change. However, what the Torah says to you is good is good. Whatever the Torah tells you is bad is bad. And it was true 3,000 years ago. It was true when the Torah was given. As a matter of fact, it was true when the world was created. You give it to Sam. It was good when the world was created, and it was going to be good another 3,000 years from now. Therefore, it's always going to be the truth. So, how do you judge what's right and what's wrong? What's your estimation for right and wrong? Do you understand? That would affect your ability to create a proper selection, to elevate things from up and down. and we are not helping what we call tikkun olam, fixing the world. That is the tikkun olam, the ability to separate, to distinguish first of all, and then separate between good and bad, without any personal, questions about it. Well, my morals, that morals, but who are you, Bichlal, to determine what the Torah says? And that's it. It's very simple. And we give ourselves so much credit, and we're so advanced, and we're so this, and we're really cruel. But you can't go pick and choose, that's good for me, so I'll do this, and that is not good for me, so I won't do that. For example, the Torah says you have to be very responsible to take care of the poor people around you. You have to give them maaser. You have to give them tzedakah. You have to create a certain social responsibility. The Torah says if there is a legal alien that comes to your midst, legal alien, he comes legally. That's a ger toshav. In other words, when a non-Jew or Gentile wants to live in the land of Israel, he has to stand in front of Beit Din and accept upon himself the Sheva Mitzvot B'nai Noach, the 7 Noachite commandments. Otherwise, he's not allowed to live there. It's not because, we are, how should we call it, segregated or, we ought to live there's no problem. However, you have to do that. It's not my land, it's God's land. However, when he does that, you have to take care of him. You have to be responsible for him. He's being protected. The Torah protects the weakest people in society and makes it as a superior value. Geri, Atom, Almana. Those people that usually most people take advantage. Oh, that's wonderful. But when the Torah tells you cannot have homosexual relationship, that's you got to take it the whole package. But the problem is, responsibility. We don't want responsibility. But the birur, the selection between good and bad. And by the way, we're going to talk a little bit about the so-called the war of sexes, Belina, tonight, as it would come up from Parashat Yitro. So please hold your breath. It's going to be hopefully quite renewing to you. That is the Tikkun Olam. Tikkun Olam is not to put everybody payos and to grow long beards and to wear with frocks and to wear fur hats or to wear, jalabias and to wear robes like this rabbi or the other rabbi, or to be chief rabbi or cheese rabbi or gefilte fish rabbi. That's not Tikkun Olam. Tikkun Olam is not to make everybody voting for this kind of party or that kind of party. Tikkun Olam is to be able to clearly distinguish between good and bad and eradicate the bad, put in one pile, separate the good from the bad, and that's it. We can't do that, and we have a problem. And therefore everything becomes spiritually stagnant. Takua in this world is not able to lift it up. Oh, lift it up, oh, lift it up. Another confused guy. Been dazed and confused for so long. Anyway, Olam HaAsiyah, in our world, things are divided into 4. The number 4 is very interesting, very dominant for many reasons. Excuse me?
4 seasons.
4 seasons, there's Vivaldi, the hotel, there's the 4. Everything is 4, yes.
4 elements.
4
5
mothers.
elements.
5 elements.
5. Chinese.
4 elements. Chinese, we're not Chinese, we're Jews. As far as I'm concerned, Chinese, they have 5,000 elements. I don't really care. It's very nice, very interesting, very nice, they say like this. But I'm Jewish, with all due respect to all Chinese medicine and all Chinese thing, which I have a lot. But it has nothing to do with me. I'm a Jew. And in terms of Judaism, there are 4 elements. And you ask me why the Chinese has 5? No, ask them. We have 4. And it's very interesting. You know what? It's very interesting. Just as a side note. When I talk to Jewish people, most people tell me, no, the Chinese are right, they have 5 elements. When I talk to Chinese people, they say, oh, there are 5 elements. And I said to them, no, there are 4. Oh, really? There's 4? That's interesting. Why is that? That's so interesting. Explain to me why. It's mind-boggling just to show you in what confusion, in what a confused state we are, that they say, wow, that's cool, that's interesting. Why? And we said, no, you're wrong. We're confused. Believe me, I do talk to Chinese people. Got a lot of friends. Yes. Because if I say I have a lot of friends, it means it's a friend that is really big, but I have a lot of friends, it's like all shapes and sizes. It's sure cool if you did. So Olam Asiyah is divided into four parts. There's Domem, still. There's Tzomeach, which grows, vegetables, trees, and so on and so forth. There is a Chai, which is a living element, animals, fish, and so on. And there is Medaber, talking, and then us, that is us. Each and every one of those categories has its own spirituality that exists with him and able to be with him and gives it its nourishment, and because of that spiritual nourishment gives it its also its ability to exist. That's why you cannot have a tree talking or a donkey talking. The only donkey that spoke was a miracle. That had to be created, and you see it's interesting that the Gemara says the mouth of the donkey that spoke had to be created before creation. Once creation was in place, donkeys don't talk. Now you understand why that midrash makes sense. It has to be before the world was created. The same thing, Shisha Dvarim Nivreu Lifnei, right? One of them is the Korach, the Felid, and so on and so forth. Okay, we didn't have to go to the whole thing. Now, for example, and we know because of their ability to speak, we know that humans have superior spirituality on all other elements, and because of that, humans have the ability to select or to assort from all other forms. Okay, that's why when we refer to in Sefer Bereshit that the man is like God, right? It means like God that he has the ability to process all elements. Of course, within our jurisdiction, we can't process things in other worlds, but in terms of that, we can do that. For example, a snake, right, which is a chai, living, it could process, let's say, solids. How? They eat little dirt and gravel to be able to digest that. It becomes a process and gives it chayu. A cow can eat grass, so the cow elevates the grass from the soil. The soil is the element, and, they're solid. Grows, the plant separates those elements and makes it superior, right? So that's the plant is superior to dirt in terms of existence. And then the cow comes and eats the grass, and then the man comes and eats the cow. And then this is how we elevate things up. Man is probably the only creature that could skip that and all this. And I said to you before, and we were talking about, I think last week or whatever, we were talking about this, how interesting it is. And, because if you think about it, why does men, humans, need to have such a complex diet? I mean, even in the diet world, we are so not understanding, and that's why all the diets don't work, is because we don't understand. Right? I tell you, one of the myths they say, you have to have protein. You have to have protein. Protein needs to build muscles. You don't eat protein, you're not going to have muscles. Really, did you ever look at a horse lately? It's all muscles. What does the horse eat? Eat hay and grass. Okay, maybe it's not an example. But you need strength. There's a difference, it's a myth, because they say if you need to build stamina, you do a lot of aerobic exercises, swimming, running, so you have to eat carbs, where if you need to build, speed, and you have to eat a little more. Fine, so let's look at an elephant. Right? Elephant is strong, right? What does he eat? Grass. We don't understand how diet works because we don't apply to a diet from a proper plane. It's completely distorted. Imagine you hiked in the Grand Canyon and all these places. How was it to go down in the Grand Canyon in the snow? It was pretty interesting, right? I think it was worse to climb up, right? Yeah. But imagine, you were standing in the cliff in Zion Park, right? Standing in the cliff and there, like, drop down, like, I don't know how many thousand feet down. Imagine I'll put there, some kind of like distorting, glasses on you. You'll fall. Even if you won't fall, you would fail to see the great beauty of it because you're using wrong prescription glasses or some distorting glass. You can't see, you can't appreciate. That's what we do. We don't use the Torah as a proper lens for us to view the world. That's why everything that is not done according to the Torah becomes distorted. Akol akum. It's all distorted. That's a huge problem in our understanding. So, in other words, when a person, for example, can take something that is domem, right, and turn it into a level, such high level, to take a piece of gold, and you can make it a part of something that will go into Kodesh Kodashim, that the Shekhinah would speak from it. Only man can do that. When they took gold, think about it, what's gold? Gold is just an element, a piece of metal that is yellow. I don't know what's human obsession with gold, but regardless of that, it's a piece of metal. It's a metal, it's an element, gold. You take something, it's a rock that grows in rivers and I don't see a donkey getting excited over a piece of gold. But I see many donkeys with two legs go crazy over gold. Diamonds, right? You can take a piece of diamond. What's a diamond? It's a carbonated, pressurized carbon. Mm-hmm. It's a crystal. It's like the carbon. You can put it in the parochet. You take a piece of gold, you make the aron from it. You take copper, you make the mizbeach from it. You're able to elevate it to such a high level, it becomes sanctified. Only a man can do it. You can take a skin of an animal and make it into something that people will die for, which is a Sefer Torah. That's our ability to do so. That's how we make the birulim. However, it can only be done through the vehicles that the Torah is giving us. With all due respect to all the Maharishis and all the yogis and all the babas and all the mamas and all the papas and all the so on and so forth, they cannot take something and make it into, they can take a cow and make it into a holy cow, but they cannot make it into an object. That's why everything that is not done is considered to be avodah zarah. Holiness only exists in something that is being derived from God. He is mamshich the kedusha. He says, you can pull the kedusha from me. But not everybody can come and do it. Look, kol echad avo v'yitol et Hashem, take the God's name and do whatever the heck you want with it. You got to be very careful with it. You want to do this, not a problem. Every human being can do so. Go become a Jew, accept that duty of becoming a Jew, and go do it. I mean, look at Rabbi Akiva. His ancestors were Gerim. So what? They were Edomites, okay? Okay, they didn't stop him to become Rabbi Akiva. No, they converted and then they became Rabbi Akiva. Nobody's stopping you. It's not something exclusive to those who were born Jewish. But you have to be Jewish to make things holy. Do you want to do that? That's got to do. This is not racism or anything like that. Oh no, we don't accept anybody and no, and so on and so on. We don't care, by the way. If a person is, whatever color skin he has, and whatever color eyes he has, and the direction the eyes are slanted and down. He has a white nose, he has a skinny nose, he has red head, he has black head, he has frizzy head. We don't care. It doesn't make any difference. It doesn't make any difference to us. And it shouldn't make a difference to us. Now, if it does make a difference to you, means that you are not operating at a full holy capacity. You are operating from the side of the klipa. You're not able to see. If a person is a Jew, right, is a full-fledged Jew, just like you, if not better. What difference does it make to you the guy is black, or the guy is Chinese, or the guy is redhead? Why should it make any difference to you whatsoever? If you do so, it means that you are viewing through the klipa. You are not doing the assortment. You're not able to separate that those things are not. This is just external. It's a shell. If I'll skin you, like they do to a deer, I'll skin you, and I'll skin a black man, we'll look at it different, they'll look the same. You won't be able to tell, they'll just look the same. Or I'll skin a Chinese woman and a Jewish woman, they'll look the same. It's an external thing that you get obsessed on. That belongs to the klipa. True Jews don't look at this. Don't make any difference whatsoever. Because you ask me, well, how about if your kid will marry an Ethiopian? Well, I don't care if she's an Ethiopian from Czechoslovakia, as far as I'm concerned. She's Shomer Shabbat Torah Mitzvot. She wants him to learn Torah. I don't care. I don't know if he cares, but as far as I'm concerned, I don't care. Don't care. It's a Jew. Shomer Torah Mitzvot, that's the criteria for me. Interested in learning Torah, that's interesting to me. Not interested. I don't care if your father was the chief rabbi of, I don't know, Mizibuch. I don't really care. Mezrich. I don't really care. I ain't marrying your grandfather. I'm, marrying you. And if you are not interested in me learning Torah, with all due respect, say hello to your grandpa, but I'm not interested in being with you. Sorry. Give me an autograph from grandpa, But I'm not interested in that. That's the Torah perspective. Do you understand what I'm saying? You have to stop with those things. And you have to, and the reason why you have to stop is because you have to know where is it coming from. Why am I like this? And now that you know it's bad, you have to stop because it's not going to be added kedusha to you. And that's why all these people that claim to be so holy, once they make the distinction, any distinction between, let's say for example, a Jew that is Sephardic or Ashkenazi and so on and so forth, then he's not talking from tzaddik kedusha. And as much as holy as you think he is, he's probably not. There's a little bit of klipat noga mixed with him, good and bad mixed together. And I'm telling you that, and I'm willing to take full responsibility for it. That's why you cannot determine who is a holy man. Because in the eyes of God, maybe a guy that, for him a Jew is a Jew, doesn't make a difference. He's more holy than you. You know books by heart and you can regurgitate them backwards and forward, but you still distinguish between, this Jew and that Jew. He's not like one of us. He's a Shvatzachaya, he's this, You have to know where it's coming from. Now that you know where it's coming from, you have to do something about it. Now, so let's say, for example, let's look at it this way. The beginning of separation was done by Adam HaRishon, and that's started, and that's hinted in the Pasuk. It says, Vayikra lahem shemot, and he called them names. He didn't call them, names. He gave them different names, right? Oh, what's your name? Names and your names. Don't call me names. I call you names. I call you an idiot. I call you names. Right? So he called them names. By calling names, that's something very important. Names are associated always with something, things are important, because name change the reality of things. For example, when conquerors come, they always change the name of places, rivers, mountains, and so on and so forth, to make them their own. They drop their old name. But that's by the way, that's what was done by the British when they decided to divide the Ottoman cake into segments to serve their purposes and the French colonialist purposes. When they call from the Jordan River to the Mediterranean Sea, that was called Transjordan, the whole area. And because there's Jordan, then there's Transjordan. And then they said, no, that's Jordan and that's the West Bank. That created a reality today that people deny the fact that Jews, this is a Jewish homeland and they have a right to return. By the way, that's what happens to Indians and Native Americans in America. They changed the names, therefore denying the right of the people to this land. Mm-hmm. And what do? They put them in reservations. They gave them a lot of land, fenced them all up, and now you got to be handing out now. The same thing as they're doing in Israel to settlements. Fenced you in, you're going to live there. And that's what Trump wants to do. He wants to dry out the settlements. Everybody that think that, is a big Israel friend. He's not. So, names is very important. Adam HaRishon started and said, okay, these are all animals. However, they are not the same. This is a horse, and that's a cow, and that's a goat, and that's a pig, and that's, sea bass, and that's lions, and that's a tree, and that's an oak tree, and that's a maple tree, and so on and so on. And he did not use those names, but he gave them names that will be reflected to really who they are. I mean, if I'm going to show you a horse, and I'm going to tell you, by the way, do you like this cow? You're going to tell me that ain't cow, that's a horse. So what difference does it make? They're all the same, all animals, it's not the same. That idea is rooted in the Ma'aseh of Adam HaRishon when he started. He called the names, he started to separate that. That how God's intent was to make man a partner in creation. He created that and says, okay, you're going to put it together now. You're going to separate it. By separating, you're going to be a partner with me in creation. So he said, Vayikra Lahem Shemot. And the same thing also, when we have the Binyan Mishkan, V'karati B'Shem Betzalel. He called the name of Betzalel, Vayikra Elokim La'or, Yom V'Lalayla, V'Lachoshech Kara Layla. You see, that what God did, and he handed it over to Betzalel. Later on, he gave us the ability to do so, to elevate things. And in the Mishkan, he calls it to Betzalel. So we're not just talking about calling names, as we said before, they're giving them names, but he, by doing so, he separated all the sparks that were mixed in together. Now you might understand why you're not allowed to mix animals, to crossbreed animals. For example, I cannot create by my own free will. I'm not allowed to create halachically to create mule. Grafting is not, because grafting mixes out those attributes that were already separated. Grapes and wheat and barley and so on and so forth, and all these things. That's why grafting is not allowed. Grafting creates a mixture. What is this thing? I'll show you a fruit. What is this thing? I don't know. It looks like peach, but it tastes like plum. Guess what? Nectarine. That's why you cannot make shechianu on grafted food from different species. You can take from the same species. You can create an apple and a green apple and a red apple, but you cannot take an apple and a pear and call it something else now. A different species. That's what we know, one of the reasons we know, and it makes sense, that a kosher animal is, if I cross, for example, a bison and a cow, I could eat it. It's a kosher animal, because the bison, I know a cow is a kosher animal, but a bison, how do I know, leave the hoofs and so on. If they're able to mate and to produce offsprings, and this offsprings will be able to bring offspring, so therefore it's a kosher animal. If I can't see any of the signs. It's from the same branch. So I can take an Arabian horse and a draft horse and mix it together, but I cannot take a horse and a donkey or a horse and a zebra. That I cannot do. Because it's mixing it up together. The same thing, shatnez. All those things were separated. Now you might understand why in Bet HaMikdash shatnez were allowed, because that represents the world before creation. Our job is to separate. Now it's separate. You can't wear them together. You can mix it up together. You know why now you cannot mix basar and chalav together? Also because of that. Separating. And everything else that you do is all about that separation. So that's why Adam HaRishon was able only to do the separation of animals, because only them he calls Shemot, only them he calls names, but other things he couldn't. According to that, you might understand why the achila of basar ba'alei chayim, eating animal flesh, was asur, because if the whole achila, the whole eating, was done for the sake of separation, to separate good from bad, and to elevate the good from the klipa, the essence, to elevate it from the klipa up, there was whatever is mixed inside. Since Adam HaRishon already did that, there's no need to eat, because the separation was done. So what's the purpose of you eating? What gives you the right to kill an animal if there's no need for it? Now you might understand why I cannot go hunting for fun. What's the purpose of you that? You can only, look at this way, you are only allowed to kill an animal if you are going to eat it. And the way to do it is by giving it a proper slaughtering, which is a proper shechita. To go to kill a deer, even though I'm going to eat it, that you can't do, only through that way. Why? Because from that way, I can actually go and have fun killing it for sport. Like they did in America for the bison. There used to be like millions of bison roaming in the plains. They used to have trains where they used to have hunting trips on trains, on platforms with a 50 cal gun. It's a special bison gun that they used to kill it. And one of the reasons, of course, they did it is to starve the Indians. So that you probably don't read in your books, in the textbooks. You know, by the way, the only two nations in the world that were eradicated like cockroaches were the Indians and the Jews. I think the only two people in the world that are not allowed to go back to the homeland, not deny their homelands, are Indians and Jews. Think about that. So, if you can eat it, if you can do the beiru, the selection was done. Therefore, you should not be eating meat. That's why Adam HaRishon was able to eat everything. He was able to eat fish. He was able to eat grass and so on and so forth. But he was not able. It was not allowed to eat meat. And those behemoth that were already selected from 6 days of Bereshit were superior, right? They were superior from the madrega of Adam, of man, after the Chet. However, after the Chet of Adam HaRishon, everything was mixed up together, and everything got mixed up back into the klipa. So those animals, and he called them names and so on and so forth, he couldn't eat them because all the selection was done. He made the Chet, he mixed everything up together. It's like God created a puzzle, you start putting it together, your job was to finish it, you messed it all up, okay, so now you got to do this all again. So, until the time of Noach, and the time of Noach, they didn't have, because mankind did not have the ability to process that, so therefore they couldn't eat it. But Noach was what we call tzaddik v'tamim, and therefore it was mutar for him to eat animals, and the beiru, that selection was done again after Noach, because he got permission to eat meat. From the time of Noach, of course, we were allowed to eat kosher animals alone, because that is within our body ability, or spiritual body, to actually separate and digest those sparks and separate good from bad. However, our selection is very, very bad. We are lacking in ability to properly select it. That's why the Gemara said, Rabotai, Utra achilat basar rak letalmidei chachamim. So if you like to eat your meat, you got to do your Gemara. You have to be a Talmid Chacham. Or it was allowed to be eaten, if you're not a Talmid Chacham, Am Haaretz is not allowed to eat meat, unless it's Shabbat. And we explained it yesterday, because Shabbat, the Beiru is being done by itself. The Beiru is being done by itself, that's why you can eat meat on Shabbat. However, if you're not a Talmid Chacham, you have a problem eating meat. And you see, certain people, they are indulged in eating meat. The level of Talmidei Chachamim is, okay, so let's change the topic, yes? But you got the drift here. So that, why? Because the Achilah of the Talmid Chacham is L'Shem Shamayim. And Amei Haratzot, Am Haaretz, is not able to do the Beiru, but more than that, the Klipa D'Tme'ah that is mixed in the animal is going to hold down to them, and is going to remove all the Kedusha that is left with them, and therefore they're going to become Tameh, they're going to become people who absolutely are not holy. They're not interested in anything holy. Eat and drink, because tomorrow we'll die. Nobody says meat does not taste good, but we're not talking about taste here. We're talking about a totally different level of existence and actually different level of being. However, as we said on Shabbat, since we have a neshama yetera, and Shabbos, since the birur is done by itself, since the birur is done by itself on Shabbat, and there is another ingredient on Shabbat that actually helps us, is the neshama yetera, the excess spirituality, the extra part of a neshama, of a spirit that is inside of us, that helps us to eat the meat on Shabbat. However, even on Shabbat, I need to have the kavanah for its lichvot Shabbat. That's why we said, if I eat it lichvot Shabbat, it's different if I eat it before lichvot of my stomach. Because if I eat it lichvot of my stomach, you got to be careful. Because you're going to eat too much of it, even that is going to overwhelm you. But on Shabbat you're allowed to, and Am Haaretz is allowed to eat meat because of the neshama yetera, and because the birur is done by itself. So in one hand, if you're eating meat and you're eating food like that, it could bring a big ta'ava on a person. Becomes a person, what we say, immersed in ta'ava, immersed in pleasures and so on and so forth. He has kas, anger, which is one of the 7 bet midot in them. And however, from the tzad of good, right, the shoresh of the machal, the root of the food, came before the breaking of the vessels, before they fell into the klipot. That's why the food has an ability to strengthen the divine spirit, the nefesh inside of us, and give us sechel midot if you eat appropriately and to eat the right way. That's why, by the way, many mikubalim did not eat meat. They were vegetarians. And you see, fish is different. But they were vegetarians because of that. They were very concerned of the attribute that meat has inside of it. Actually, the klipa that meat possesses within it. And they work so hard on themselves. They're going to be eating a steak. They're going to lose a work over here for one steak. It's not worth it. I don't want that. And by the way, which is very interesting, what we call the desire of the flesh, or in Hebrew, ta'avat basarim. We refer to an uncontrolled desire for sexual practices, ta'avat basarim, and also which is ta'avat for basar, for eating meat. You see, they go hand in hand. They go hand in hand. Again, as we say even in English, the desire of the flesh. When I say the desire of the flesh, you all know what I'm talking about. But where is it coming from? From that. You see the connection between eating basar and ta'ava in Maaseh Aslav, when they ate that partridges in the desert. They couldn't live without desire. So, my goodness, what's going on here? We want to have some desire. We don't want to be so holy anymore. Itavu ta'ava, as the Khatam Sofer says. They desired to have a desire. And how did this implement it? They knew. God, give us meat. They had meat. Last week we read, they gave him man and gave him meat. Man came in the morning and Slav came in the afternoon. Why do you want meat? We want more meat. We don't want meat to eat. Because what did they say about the man? Lechem haklokel. The man was completely nivla ba'evarim. The man was completely selected. There was no klipa in it. And the more they ate of it, the more holy they became. Because there was no klipa. It was all spiritual. It was pure spiritual food. I can't enough of this thing. HaKadosh Baruch Hu realized that they needed. So he gave him man in the morning and then meat at night. He said, we don't want to be holy. We want to have some dirt inside of us. We want some nasty things. Give us meat. That's where it's coming from. Now you understand where it's coming from. Now you understand where it's coming from. So, if a person is able to be mechazek his nefesh elokit, his neshama, in midot and ahava v'yira, he's not so desired. He's not so being pulled after desire of eating. And when he does so, the chelek, the good part in the eating, attaches to him, and then he's discharging the bad part, which becomes the klipa, becomes a tameh. And then, of course, it's the other way around. So, if you're able to eat appropriately and you have the proper kavanah, you're actually going to become more holy by doing so. You'll be mechazek, not only, you'll be mechazek, you're strengthening the kedusha. But if you desire a lot of meat and flesh and eat and more food and more food and more food, you're mechazek the tum'ah, you're strengthening the impurity, and that will cause a problem to you with your spirituality. And you will be lacking in your job. Your job is to do the proper selection that you're doing by eating. How? By initiating a proper thought. So control your thought, control your desire, make yourself holy. Have a great day.